Welcome back to World Wrestlers History, the channel where wrestling legends live forever. Today we step into the pink and black world of a man whose precision, pride, and passion reshaped the very art of professional wrestling. He called himself the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, and for millions of fans around the world, that wasn't just a boast, it was a statement of fact. This is the story of Bret, the Hitman Hart. It begins not beneath the bright lights of Madison Square Garden, but in the wide-open skies of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It begins in a house filled with 12 children, a legendary father, a determined mother, and a basement that would become one of the most famous training rooms in wrestling history. It is a journey of quiet discipline and explosive greatness, of heartbreak and triumph, of a boy who became the gold standard for technical wrestling. Bret Sergeant Hart entered the world on July 2, 1957, the eighth child of Stu and Helen Hart. The Hart household was anything but ordinary. His father, Stu Hart, was already a respected name in professional wrestling, a former amateur grappler turned promoter whose reputation for toughness was matched only by his love for the sport. His mother, Helen, balanced the chaos of 12 children with warmth and an unshakable sense of order. Inside their large Calgary home, the sounds of laughter, arguments, and the thud of wrestling boots were as common as the prairie wind outside. At the heart of that home was a cold concrete basement that would become legendary across the wrestling world, the dungeon. There, Stu Hart transformed promising young athletes into hardened wrestlers. The dungeon was no ordinary training space, it was a crucible. Stu stretched bodies and spirits to their limits, applying painful submission holds to teach respect for the craft. Aspiring wrestlers would leave dripping with sweat and sometimes tears, but those who survived carried with them the skill and toughness that defined Hart family wrestling. As a young boy, Bret spent countless hours near that basement door, listening to the groans and screams of trainees as his father wrenched them into submission. For many kids, those sounds might have been terrifying. For Bret, they were music, an introduction to a world of discipline and storytelling where every move had meaning. While other children his age were busy with cartoons or playground games, Bret was learning the language of holds and counters, the rhythm of a perfectly executed takedown. Bret's first jobs in wrestling weren't glamorous. He sold programs at his father's Stampede wrestling shows, operated a handheld camera to film local matches, and quietly observed the mechanics of the ring. But every ticket he sold and every frame he filmed sharpened his understanding of the sport. He studied the way a suplex could draw a gasp, how a simple headlock could tell a story of control and struggle. Even before he stepped through the ropes, Bret Hart was becoming a student of wrestling psychology. Despite growing up in a family built around spectacle, Bret himself was a reserved child. He loved art and even dreamed of becoming a filmmaker one day. But wrestling wasn't just in his home, it was in his blood. With brothers like Bruce, Keith, and the youngest, Owen, and sisters who would marry or manage wrestlers, every dinner conversation revolved around the business. Bret didn't need to search for inspiration, it surrounded him at every turn. By his teenage years, destiny began to take hold. Bret excelled in amateur wrestling at school, winning medals and refining the technical precision that would later define his professional style. While his classmates focused on speed or brute strength, Bret became obsessed with execution, the perfect angle for a takedown, the flawless bridge in a pinning combination. Those long hours of practice built a foundation of balance and timing that would carry him safely through decades of grueling matches. Training under Stu in the dungeon was not for the faint of heart. Stu believed pain was the greatest teacher. Every hold had to be applied with exact pressure, every escape performed with split-second timing. Mistakes weren't corrected with words but with holds that bent joints and forced quick lessons. Bret endured endless nights of sweat and soreness, learning not only the mechanics of wrestling but also the respect it demanded. The dungeon forged more than muscles, it forged character. In those early years, Bret also developed an eye for storytelling. He began to understand that wrestling wasn't merely about winning or losing, it was about making people feel. A well-timed reversal could create hope, a desperate crawl to the ropes could draw sympathy, and a sudden sharpshooter could ignite an arena. These lessons would become the trademarks of his career, technical mastery paired with emotional depth. As he approached adulthood, Bret faced a choice. He still nurtured dreams of filmmaking, but the call of the ring grew louder with every show he filmed and every practice match he wrestled. Wrestling was more than a family business, it was his inheritance, a tradition built by the father he admired and the siblings who shared his journey. By the late 1970s, the quiet boy who once sold programs at ringside was ready to step fully into the world he had studied for so long. The Stampede Wrestling years. Bret's professional debut came in 1978, for his father's promotion, Stampede Wrestling. In the rugged arenas of Western Canada, he quickly proved that he was more than just another Hart kid riding the family name. Night after night, Bret displayed a rare blend of technical precision and understated charisma. Fans admired his smooth holds, his flawless chain wrestling, and his ability to make every opponent look like a threat. He was never the loudest talker, but his matches spoke volumes. Stampede Wrestling was the perfect proving ground. The travel was grueling and the crowds demanding. Bret learned how to read an audience, how to pace a match, and how to tell a story over 20 hard-fought minutes. His commitment to excellence earned respect from veterans and fans alike. By the early 1980s, it was clear that Bret Hart was destined for a bigger stage. That opportunity came when the World Wrestling Federation purchased Stampede Wrestling's top talent. In 1984, Bret signed with the WWF, stepping into a world of national television, massive arenas, and global exposure. At first, he was unsure where he fit in a company dominated by loud personalities and larger-than-life characters. But Vince McMahon saw something in Bret's quiet confidence and undeniable skill. The Hart Foundation. To help him stand out, Bret was paired with powerhouse Jim, the Anvil, Neidhart, his real-life brother-in-law. Together they formed the Hart Foundation, managed by the flamboyant Jimmy Hart, no relation. Dressed in striking pink and black, the duo balanced power and precision. Jim brought raw strength and wild energy, while Bret provided the technical backbone and ring psychology. The Hart Foundation quickly became one of the premier tag teams of the 1980s. Their battles with teams like the British Bulldogs, the Killer Bees, and Demolition thrilled audiences across North America. In 1987, Bret and Jim captured their first WWF Tag Team Championship, proving that technical wrestling could succeed in an era dominated by larger-than-life brawlers. They held the titles twice, delivering some of the most technically sound tag matches of the decade. Fans were drawn to Bret's calm, calculating style. He wasn't the loudest talker or the biggest man in the ring, but he had an aura of quiet mastery. His nickname, the Hitman, fit perfectly. Every move was deliberate, every counter precise. He wasn't just wrestling opponents, he was dissecting them. By the late 1980s, Bret Hart had become a household name among wrestling fans. The tag team's success laid the groundwork for what everyone sensed was inevitable, a singles career that would showcase his full talent. Thank you Tag for your video. Before we continue deeper into Bret's rise to singles superstardom, I want to pause and thank you, the viewers of World Wrestlers History. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions keep these legendary stories alive. If you're enjoying this journey through the life of Bret, the Hitman, Hart, make sure to hit that subscribe button and share this video with fellow wrestling fans. Your support lets us keep celebrating the heroes and histories that shaped the sport we love.